how can I do a job interview as an introvert? Now, an introvert is naturally a person who gets recharged by being alone. You're more really introspective versus an extrovert that gets recharged by being around people. Hey guys, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Now, my goal is that at the end of this video is show you guys who's about to take probably a job interview, the top 10 tips that I have to succeed, especially if you're an introvert. Now, if this is your guys' first time on my channel, my name is Lai Lacaba. I am the virtual ate. Been working from home since I was 15 years old and now run my own outsourcing agency in the Philippines. And I post videos every Sunday and Thursday on how to work from home, so make sure to hit the subscribe button right there so you don't miss any of my videos. Now, in the last video that I did, which is very specifically how to work from home as an introvert, and last year I also did a video on 10 plus jobs that you can do as an introvert. A lot of you guys commented, messaged me, emailed me, or generally just asked me, how can I do a job interview as an introvert? Now, an introvert is naturally a person who gets recharged by being alone. You're more really introspective versus an extrovert that gets recharged by being around people. So an interview can be really daunting, but honestly, whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, doing a job interview is still pretty scary. That's why I'm really going to dive into, from also an employer's point of view, what we're looking for and what you need to prepare for as well. So make sure to watch until the end of this video for an acronym that I've taught a lot of my own students on how to be better prepared when it comes to going into a job interview. Now, whether you are going through a job interview through Zoom or in person, probably Zoom if you're working from home, all of these tips are going to be applied in the same way. Now, the first thing is you have to keep in mind that at this point, you want to assess where you're at. Are you comfortable with this job position that you're about to get interviewed for? A lot of the time, especially if we're job hunting, we're kind of trying to just apply to a lot of different places. And now that you're at this point, you need to take a pause to actually see, okay, is this the right job that I actually want for me? Especially if it's your first time working from home, it can be very confusing, or it can be very tempting even to just take whatever job that you want. So you want to take this time to pause to see, do I actually want this job? You want to already start thinking about like, what are the times that I want to work and what is my actual rate? So then when you're going into the interview, you already have your questions or the things that you want to make sure is covered during that interview. One of the things you have to keep in mind when it comes to an interview is at that point, the employer really just wants to see if you can be a fit. So for you yourself, before you get into that interview, you are also wondering yourself, can I work out here? Next thing that you can do to prepare for your interview is actually to practice the questions. Now, what I mean by this is, there's going to be questions that employers always ask the same way. And I already did a video on the top questions that are usually asked during an interview, and you guys can check it out right here. But basically, that some of the questions are probably, tell me about yourself. Where do you see yourself in the next 5 to 10 years, and why do you want to work for this company? So knowing the top questions, you want to already prepare your answer. Now, as an introvert, it might not be as easy for you to actually speak it. You might want to try writing it down or putting it on your notepad on your laptop or on your phone. But the point is to actually already map out how would you answer those questions. That way, your brain kind of relaxes when it does get eventually to the point where you are being asked that question. And if you want to take that a step further, one of the things that you can do to prepare for your interview is to actually record yourself on video. Now, I know this sounds terrifying, but you want to make sure that, you look at your facial expressions, you're trying to see how you respond, you want to hear the tone of your voice, so then you can adjust as you need to. Now, I want to make sure that you guys don't get dragged down to just practicing and not actually going to the actual interview, because you can practice all you want, but if you don't get into the interview, you're never getting a job. So I want to make sure that that's clear as you guys practice that part out. Next is, once you're actually scheduled already the interview, you want to make sure that you schedule your day ahead. That means that you want to make sure that you are not stressing yourself out. You are drinking a cup of tea beforehand. You're really keeping in mind that you're just going into an interview. No one's going to hurt you. No one's going to bite you, just to see if you guys can work out in a work setting. So try to already have that mindset of, okay, today I'm having an interview. I'm going to be telling my family or the people that I live with that I have an interview at this time, so they shouldn't bug me. You want to make sure that you have the best internet connection at that time. And as much as possible, just relax before. Try not to do any work. Try not to even apply for other jobs at that time, because then you're just kind of stressing yourself out. Next is to make sure that you have your environment ready. Now, what I mean by this, and I already said a couple of things about it, is to make sure you set boundaries with the people that you live with. Let them know that you're going into an interview. I've done interviews with people where, their family walked by behind them, or someone tapped them on their shoulder, or someone just went into their room asking for something. Try to make sure that you have that boundary already set, so then you don't get bothered as much. Another thing is to make sure that you do have a blank background. Now, it doesn't have to be, beautiful, intricate. It could just literally be a white wall. If you guys go into my previous videos, I literally just did it with this wall. So you can do the same way. It doesn't have to be, again, pretty or anything. It just has to be just a plain background where they won't get distracted. If you are using Zoom, you can use a virtual background for it, just so, again, minimizing the distraction for the employer. Again, make sure that you have your best internet, and of course, make sure to check where your webcam placement is. I've done different interviews with people who had very good setup when it comes to their camera, like they were a gamer or something, and they had their camera right above them, above their computer when they were talking to me, and it was actually honestly a little bit distracting that they kept looking down because they were talking to me. Make sure that when you're setting up your workspace, as you are setting up for the interview, that you're able to look at the camera when you are talking or responding to them. Next is, once you're actually at the interview, remember to smile and be present. Keep in mind that you're probably allotted 30 minutes to an hour to see if this relationship can work. So try to put your best foot forward and try to keep in mind that you have gotten this far. The next thing that you want to make sure is, when you're answering the questions, that you are giving actual examples if necessary. So for example, let's say one of the questions was, have you ever gone through a difficult time where you didn't have a manager to talk to? Now, it could be a simple just yes or no answer, but one really good thing to keep in mind is you can dive into if you can think of any examples of that time, because then that's showing them that you are someone who can handle themselves. You're someone who, whatever it is that they're trying to draw out of you by asking that question, it's going to be easier for them, oh, okay, this person, yeah, they know what they're talking about. Next thing is to lean into your superpower as an introvert. Now, this is something that I did mention in the last video of how to work from home as an introvert, but basically you want to keep in mind that as an introvert, one of your superpowers is being curious, is being introspective, so you're looking more into yourself, and you're also a good listener. When you are doing an interview, you are seeing if this is a possible work relationship for you, not just for them, but also for you. So listen for cues, listen how they talk, listen how they describe the job, because then you can see your own comfort level. You can see if you want to work for this company even in the first place. So lean into your superpowers as a introvert. Try to watch how they talk, how they describe themselves, so you can get a little bit more insight about the job. The next tip that I have is to keep in mind to have a point. Now, what I mean by this is, sometimes when we get really nervous, we tend to blabber, we tend to get lost in what was our point, what we were trying to say. So having a central point, having a conclusion to what you were saying in your answer will help you a lot in getting just less nervous. Instead of blabbering and you somehow ended up telling them about your childhood story about how you got lost and you still found your way. Good story, but probably not relevant to the question. So keep in mind to have your central point of what it is that you're actually trying to tell them. Which brings me to the next tip, which is basically stay relevant. Keep in mind that you do have a limited time. Keep in mind that if you do get the job, you'll probably have more time to get to know them, but you want to be aware that, again, it's limited time, so make sure that your answers are relevant to either the job position or exactly to what they're asking for. Another super important tip is, before doing the interview, you want to make sure that you research them as much as you can. Research the person you're about to talk to, research the company, learn more about the job title, because then you're a little bit more ready when you actually show up. Because one of the things that you really want to be able to do when you're doing an interview is to be able to ask questions. Ask them questions more about the job, what their expectations are. Again, all of these questions I actually covered in that video of common interview questions and how to answer them, but I want to make sure that you guys keep that in mind. I have been amazed so many times when I'm talking about something about the company and they say,
"Oh yeah, I researched that. Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, I saw that video where you're talking about that."
So it's always amazing to see people who do their due diligence to make sure that they are ready and prepared for the interview. Next thing you have to keep in mind is you want to make sure that at the end you ask for feedback. You ask them, okay, how did I do during this interview? You know, what could be something I could improve or something I did well so that I can improve upon that more. Doing this shows that you're someone who is self-aware, and of course, please don't fake it. And you're also someone who knows how to ask and take feedback. And then the last thing you really have to keep in mind when you're doing an interview is ask them what the next steps are. Ask them when you're going to probably hear from them next. Ask them if you are pass or fail. You can just do that as well if their process is a little bit more shorter or streamlined, because then you are setting your own expectations as well and you're not just following up with them for nothing. Now, like I said at the beginning of the video, I do have a quick way that you can remember all the tips that I just said. And it's basically an acronym that I've called PECK. So it's P-E-C-K. P is for pause. So doing that pause before the interview, remember to breathing, remember to smile. Remember that you can also ask for a pause. So you can say, hey, is it okay if I grab a glass of water? Is it okay if I ask you for the question again? So keep that in mind that you can ask for pauses during an interview. E is example. So exactly what I said, make sure that you have a central point and that you do back up your answers with an example. C is clarity. Make sure that you are saying things that are relevant. Make sure that it has a conclusion or essential point. And then K, lastly, is knowledge. Again, research the people you're about to do an interview with, research the company, research the job, just get to know as much information as possible and also ask them for that information. Keep in mind, again, it's not a one-way relationship. They're going to be working with you as you are working with them. So you want to make sure that before you get into this relationship, you know what you're getting into. Now, for our featured comment for this video is coming from my 10 plus jobs you can do on your phone. It's just coming from Kang Lian. Hi, Lian. She says, my mom told me about your story and I'm so inspired. I decided to visit your YouTube channel and ended up watching this because I want to be like you. I'm just a 14-year-old, but I wanted to try this. It's going to help me a lot. Thank you so much for this, Ate Lian. Well, thank you so much, Kang. That is literally why I wanted to start this YouTube channel, is to inspire more teens to know that you can work from home just like I was able to. Now, if you guys want your comment featured or your question answered, make sure to comment them below and I'll get to you in a future video. Now, if you guys like this video, make sure to hit that thumbs up button right there so I know that this is the type of content that you guys want to see. And if you guys still haven't yet, make sure to hit the subscribe button right there so you don't miss any of my videos every Sunday and Thursday on how to work from home. And you guys can check out these other two videos right here for more career tips on how to succeed in this online career. I hope you guys have an awesome day. Remember that small steps matters, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!